All right, welcome to the stream. I'm gonna wait for a few more people to get in here before I get started. YouTube dashboard is being weird right now, so if you're on the YouTube side of things, if you could throw something in the chat so I know it's actually live. I'm actually not getting any analytics on that side. Wait, maybe it's coming through now. Let me refresh. All right, I think it's slowly coming back. It shows some analytics now. All right, cool. So yeah, those of you tuning in, how are we doing? So I made a post yesterday on my YouTube channel, just asking for your experience with gaming on Linux. I know a lot of YouTubers kind of go through their experience, and it's typically kind of one-sided when you're going through and you're talking about your experience. Either it's been a really good experience, or they're kind of on the opposite side where it's kind of been a really bad experience, and kind of not really bashing, but like kind of just talking about how the experience is not quite there yet. So yeah, so I kind of wanted to get a your actual experience, and we can obviously just do it here on the live, so that way you guys can share your experience and others can see what it's actually like to be using gaming on Linux, and what your first impressions and things like we're on Linux. So I'm going to read some of the comments that I've already gotten, but then I actually want to get some of you guys to join in the chat, or you can even join in on the Discord. I'm going to join one of the channels on my Discord here soon, so that way you guys can actually share your experience live, as well. So yeah, so let's kind of just jump in to some of the comments, and then you can also share in the actual chat as well. But yeah, so let's jump into some of these comments real quick. So we got OmniGlitch here. So the distro they were using or are using is Fedora 43. Graphics card is a hybrid, Intel and NVIDIA, 4070 mobile. Yeah, I'm definitely curious, like, if certain configurations, like as far as like hardware and stuff, people are having better experiences than others. It may surprise us that it may be flipped or something like that. But yeah, so what was good? Fedora 43 offers a clean, up-to-date base that works well for gaming when paired with the right configuration. The latest kernel and Mesa versions mean the better hardware out of the box, to older, more conservative distros. Yeah, I definitely could agree with that. That having more up to date base gives you a little bit better support for your hardware and everything. Because as things increase and update, you kind of want to have the latest, especially for gaming. When it comes to gaming side of things, like certain packages and like other things may not matter as much, but when it comes to like your drivers and gaming experience, then yeah, definitely sometimes it will things will change there. And then we have Steam with Proton. Steam with Proton handles a solid majority of titles without any manual intervention, and the overall system stability is excellent for daily use alongside gaming. Yeah, I definitely could agree with that as far as like, Fedora goes. Having that overall stability to use it as like a daily driver, as well as gaming. And then what was bad? So NVIDIA hybrid drivers on a laptop requires meaningful post-install work. Driver setup, managing which GPU is actually active, and dealing with occasional conflicts with the display manager. I've definitely been there. Not just on Fedora, but on some like Arch-based distros as well on my hybrid laptop. So I definitely can relate to that. Fedora's commitment to open source defaults means NVIDIA drivers need to be sourced through RPM Fusion, which adds a setup step that can trip up newcomers. Any cheat-dependent games remain largely off the table. That's definitely a common thing when it comes to Linux gaming, as far as like, Fortnite and Call of Duty and some of the bigger titles with anti-cheat. You just can't play them on Linux; it's not supported. Which is the single biggest limitation for anyone coming from Windows with a competitive multiplayer library. There definitely are some titles out there that you can still play, but I will definitely agree that there are quite a few titles that just don't work right now. Swish in the chat. What was bad? NVIDIA, and nobody was shocked. Yeah, I just dealt with the hybrid issue on X11. Takes a bit of work in wrapping your X11. Wait, takes a little bit of work in wrapping your X11 window manager. Took me a year to figure it out. So was that like, it took you a year overall, or like to like really fine tune it? Are you saying like it just kind of took a while to have it working? Or what do you mean by that? It took you over a year to actually figure it out? I'm just curious on your thoughts there, but off and on for a year overall to just get it working. Were you using Linux for that entire year, or were you kind of like bouncing back and forth from Windows and Linux? And then we have, what's going on? Minute Tux, how we doing? The only recent bad experience I had was when I had the RTX or RX 7900 XTX with a kernel regression that caused my GPU to reset 2 times a day. No workaround worked after 6 months, so I went back to NVIDIA. Interesting. So you had issues with the AMD card over the actual yeah, I'm actually surprised by that. SSD. Oh, you're live. What's up? Yep, I am live. What's going on, man? How are we doing? So yeah, let's go to the next one on here. So let's go to the more configure ones here. So let's see. Sakabo, whichever one. Current distro, Arch, Neri, and CachyOS kernel. So they went with like a more specific Arch setup. And then they've used Pop! OS, Bazite, and CachyOS. So they kind of bounced around. They got a Debian, Ubuntu-based distro. And then, and actually make this larger so you can actually see this. And then have RTX 4080, so NVIDIA driver there. So the good, very smooth performance in gaming and viewing videos. Very fast, responsive system. Not left waiting for things to open. It was incredible customization and great learning experience. So yeah, those are definitely some good pluses there, I would say. And then we have the bad. So Pop! OS, I had issues with BattleNet, and WoW is one of the main games, as well as other features that didn't work well, but was too new to really understand what was wrong. Something on CachyOS just didn't like the system because it felt like something was always breaking. KDE Plasma bugs would just flash a black screen, lock me out, and my system would lock up. That's definitely interesting. I feel like a lot of KDE issues that I've had in the past kind of just haven't really happened as of recently. Ever since like KDE 6, I think KDE 5 had a lot more of the bugs and things like that, but not really 100% sure there. Rosa replied here, yeah, was on Linux. The thing was I didn't know I had to essentially wrap the .desktop file like BSPWM.desktop, for example, to make NVIDIA the primary. Disable the AMD GPU, etc. Oh, I see. When it comes to like the actual knowing which one needs to be used by default, you do experience some of those things in like Hyperland and other Wayland window managers as well. So I definitely can understand that. That might generally be the first time I've heard someone having issues with an AMD card in well over a decade. Yeah, there's still an AMD GitLab issue open for it. I was disappointed by it, as I was always told AMD GPUs are best for Linux. Been a Linux user for a long time and had always used NVIDIA. Yeah, I'm definitely surprised by that too. I feel like that's pretty crazy that the AMD side of things was more your issue than the NVIDIA side. That's typically not what you hear when you are, gaming on Linux. Except for one time for a short period where I had the RX 6700 XT. Swish, that's kind of wild. I bought a 9070 XT like within 2 weeks, and launching, and even that just worked when I got it. The GPU sounds cursed. Yeah, maybe it was just that specific GPU or like the driver, whatever. I don't even know. SSD, can I ask a question here? Of course. You can definitely ask a question. Go for it. So back to the post here. So I've been using Linux since November, and so far my customized personalized Arch experience has been my favorite and most stable Linux OS I've tried. That's a pretty bold statement there, as far as like, Arch being the most stable Linux. A lot of people would beg to argue with that, but I definitely think if you are configuring it correctly, you can really have, definitely a stable system on Arch. And from trying GNOME, KDE, Neri has been the best and most fun desktop I've used. Neri is definitely great. I agree with that. And getting the best of both worlds from Arch and CachyOS kernel has my games running the smoothest that I've been in a long while. So far, I don't plan to go back on to Windows for a long time. P.S. Thanks for the Neri videos. Definitely helped me out a lot. Well, I appreciate you watching. So definitely. So definitely, keep using Neri. I think that's a great choice. It seems to be working out for you very much there. Bidoof. My experience with Linux has been just that it's a shitty overall experience. Oh, interesting. From spending a ton of money to buy AMD, I'm just gonna buy a gaming laptop with NVIDIA. Wait, so what was the actual issue that you were having to make it a shitty overall experience, like you said? I kind of on your recent video, but you're live, so I'll just ask it. What's your experience gaming on Cachy plus Mango, if you have any? So yeah, I was on Mango for a short period of time, just trying it out. I was probably on it for like, I don't know, like a week and a half, ish. I honestly didn't have a big difference in like performance or anything from using Neri or Hyperland. It seemed to be pretty good. I did have a similar issue that I had on Neri, where like the mouse would not capture in the actual video itself. But that seemed to had fixed itself over a couple days. Like I think it was like only like the first 2 days that I had that experience, and then after that it was pretty good after that. So I would say overall it's pretty good. I'm sure it's even better now after a bunch of new updates and things that they've done. Swish Arch is a rock solid. People that argue with it don't know what they're talking about and probably just blindly copy and paste random terminal commands. You're probably right about that. No, I definitely agree. Because if you talk to any like long-term Arch users, they probably would say their best experience has been on Arch because they're able to configure it and get it to a good standing, for what their system needs, and you don't have all that extra, bloat and things and stuff getting in the way. Bido, I'm just gonna buy. Oh, yeah, I already read that. Ubuntu deleted my Windows 10 data when it borked, some grub issue, and then the toxic users jumped on me for saying it's Linux fault, and then for using the wrong distro. Bro, I only used Linux to learn programming and maybe some gaming on the side, but no, all my data got wiped. And yeah, Arch is rock solid until you don't update your system for a month. Interesting. So a couple things here, I guess, to address. Yes, I do feel like there are a lot of toxic users out there that will blame certain things on whatever it might be. That's one of my biggest things that I don't like about the Linux community is the toxicity and calling people out for using the quote unquote wrong distro and all that stuff. I wish it was much more of a like friendly environment, but you can find good communities. I feel like my Discord community keeps things very very straightforward and nice, and not like calling anybody out for using the wrong thing or whatever. And if anybody does, we shut it down pretty quickly. So it's not really a big issue if you can find the right community to be in. But I definitely agree with that side of things. But that definitely sucks that that you got all of your Windows 10 data deleted. That's definitely unfortunate. It is a more specific issue, of course. I don't think a lot of people are going to have that same issue, but I definitely think that could be. I don't know what you could have honestly done differently to fix that, but yeah, I'm definitely sorry that happened to you. And as far as like the updating, what for 1 month, I mean, I don't feel like you have to update that frequently on Arch. I mean, you can definitely go a while without updating, and things work out pretty well. So I definitely don't think that's like a huge issue for the most part. But I mean, some people do have experiences where they don't update for a while and then have like some dependency issue or something ends up happening. But I don't know. I feel like that's not like a huge issue in my eyes. If you want non-toxic Linux help, just ask ChatGPT. Just ask ChatGPT. That's funny. Um, yeah, they'll tell you like it is with some of these AI tools. Uh, and then called stupid by the same Linux user when the LLM give you a bad command. I called someone out less than a week ago for hard recommending a single distro and shitting on other options. Yeah, no, definitely. I talk about it in my Discord because I feel like that did happen like a week ago. Um, and yeah, they got shut down pretty quickly because I feel like we were all kind of arguing. Actually, we are like the person who asked the question asked like once, and then we all like argued about what the best distro was, and then the person who actually asked wasn't even in the conversation anymore. And I feel like, and I ended up saying like this is why people don't end up switching or wanting to go with Linux is because they get this crazy like um where people are so one-sided about things, and they'll call you out for like using the wrong distro, and then they just get confused. Like they don't even know where to start or where to go because people are very opinionated and want to use their own opinions and to persuade what you should use, which it shouldn't be like that. CG Linux has been good to me. Only issue was the software switch. Finding alternatives with some work. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I will say on that front, as far as like the finding alternatives, I do tell a lot of people that, which I'm glad you look for alternatives instead of trying to make the other software work. Because I do tell a lot of people that you need to adapt to using Linux instead of just trying to get Linux to adapt to you. Because I mean, it's similar when you go to like from Android to iOS. Not all apps are going to be the same or work the same or even have the same app when you do switch between those two different operating systems. So you just kind of have to adapt to the way things are on the new operating system, and I think that's the best way to approach it when you're also switching to Linux as well. And honestly, the biggest problem for me as an Android user with Linux before was Linux app ecosystem sucks. Kind of the same thing about finding alternatives with some work. It's getting better. I definitely agree that there's quite a bit of gaps when it comes to the Linux app ecosystem. There's quite a bit of stuff that is out there that will well, let me repeat that. There's quite a bit of stuff that isn't out there that you will have to find like a different alternative or kind of use something different. My friend or my dev friends have told me about the fundamental flaws of Linux and how it will never be the year of the Linux desktop. Yeah, we always joke about the year of Linux desktop, but I feel like it's not. I mean, I think gaming is going to come to Linux before the regular desktop user comes. I feel like the support for gaming is going to increase, especially once the actual Steam machine and stuff drops. It's going to open doors for a lot of different, gaming side of things, which that will turn and bring support for other things and other software as well. It sounds like a lot of your issues don't stem from distro choice or anything like that, but you stumbled into some very toxic places, and it just sounds like a really frustrating experience. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It just wasn't a good experience for that user. So I definitely feel for you that it wasn't as good as some others may have had. If you want to retry Linux, come join the Black Dawn Discord. Will actually help you properly if you have issues. Thank you, Swish. Yeah, definitely join. Well, we can definitely help you out. I feel like the community that I built is a really good one that we definitely help people out no matter what like level of expertise that you have. Like, we want to help you, and if you want to use Linux, then by all means use it, and we'll try to help you get to where you want to go. But honestly, Linux is not for everybody. That's the other thing we have to recognize, that not everybody is going to be able to use Linux. It's just a simple fact. What keyboard is that? Oh, this is a what keyboard is this? It's not KeyMove. Shoot, I can't let me get back to that. Is learning NixOS worthy? That's completely up to you. I feel like NixOS is a great distribution. I liked it a lot when I was on it, but it definitely depends on your use case and what you need to get it working. Nice keyboard, by the way, 65%. Yes, it is 65. No, it's actually 75%. I'm gonna have to look this up, because now it's gonna bother me that I don't remember what the name of this keyboard is. It is, because I know I have it written down here. Oh, Womer, WOMER SK71. That's what it's called. Lolly 80, no issues with gaming, or with Linux gaming. Just choose a distro made for it. That way you don't need to figure out how to install all the necessary apps. Nabarro, PeakOS, Cachy all have pleasant experiences. But Linux can't be everything like how I want it as an Android user. That's interesting. So you're saying, but I think you need to look at it differently. Like I was saying before, is far as switching operating systems, I don't feel like you should base your experience off of a different operating system, because it's a completely different experience. You can't be a Mac OS user and expect Windows to feel like a Mac OS experience. You're just going to set yourself up to have a bad experience, in my opinion. Who says that a gaming distro is good for gaming? Really any distro can be good for gaming. You don't have to use a gaming distro. It really just depends on how much you want set up for yourself. That's all the gaming distros are doing. It's just having stuff kind of pre-set up, for you, and having packages and stuff, already set up. So it's not like you have to go with one of those distros. But if you don't, then you will have to set up some of those things yourself and get things running the way you want it to. So it can definitely be a hit or miss, depending on your expertise itself. So before I go back through the comments, I want to read another one of these from the post. So we have TLAX. The distro is Arch with Hyperland. I wonder if that was their first go. They just went straight to Arch Hyperland, not trying out any other ones. And then the graphics card is AMD, the 9070 XT. And I got better performance in most games compared to Windows. Most games run with Proton out of the box. Proton GE latest works the best for me. I agree with that. As far as Proton GE goes, if it works, it works reliably and does not randomly break. They put the emphasis on if, so I see where they're going with that. And then the bad, I had some compatibility issues with gaming on Wayland. Crashes, full screen not working correctly, tearing, and performance drops. The solution for me was using GameScope when a game has a problem with native Wayland. And then the initial setup was a bit of a headache. I definitely agree that the initial setup can be a headache depending on what you're trying to get running. If you're just using, straight up Steam, and you just add Proton, for the most part, I feel like you're gonna have a decent experience. It's not going to be a bunch of craziness. I think the where it kind of falls down is when you're trying to use a bunch of other launchers and stuff outside of Steam, in my experience. Because obviously, like BattleNet and stuff like that, there is no native BattleNet option on Linux. So you have to go through these other hoops to get those things to work. So it definitely can vary, throughout those experiences, in my opinion. Yeah, so back to the chat. I actually enjoyed my Linux journey. I started around 2008 and learned as I use Linux more and more. No need to use specialized distribution if you know your way around Linux well enough. Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I feel like once you really get into it, because when I first started, I was distro hopping and doing all the normal newcomer Linux things. So I was trying all the different gaming centric distros and stuff like that. And after I kind of went through everything, like, you end up knowing what you want from each one of those distros, and then you can kind of configure your own system based on those things that you learned. I have no issue with people distro hopping, because I think you learn a lot when you do distro hop. Learning about the different distros, what they include and why they include it, and stuff like that. So I definitely think it's a good experience to go down that rabbit hole. But I definitely feel like once you are experienced, you probably should build your system kind of from the ground up, depending on wherever you are, like whether it's Fedora, NixOS, Arch, whatever you're using. I feel like building it for your needs is probably the best experience you're going to have on Linux. My experience for Linux was the opposite. Virtually only developers in my country use Linux, and virtually no one IRL uses Linux. So no tech support when stuff goes wrong, even worse than most. Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna have a great experience with Linux, I do think the developers and the IT specialists and stuff like that will probably have a better experience, because they have the know-how to troubleshoot and probably don't get scared when something goes wrong. But yeah, consider Linux the. Oh wait, I missed one. I'm a Python full stack developer. I have more than 2 machines at my home. I see your videos reproduce is a very easy on NixOS, but when it comes to customize, I think it is more easy on normal Linux. It's definitely easier on other Linux distros to customize than on NixOS. There's couple extra things you got to go through to get things working there. Consider Linux as the hacker OS. It has been kind of considered that way, but I think overall it's not really a hacker OS as much anymore. Starwolf, what's up? How you doing, man? Just got here. What did I miss? Not much. I just been going through some of the comments on the post that I have here, and then just going through the chat here about us, like your experience with Linux. I want to show people what the actual experience from actual users are going through when they actually switch to Linux, instead of just watching a lot of these YouTubers and stuff kind of glorify or just show off the great stuff that happens in Linux, and then the opposite side when they show everything that goes bad. we got to see the in between, the good, the bad, and the ugly. to really get the full experience, to know exactly what you're looking at here. So yeah, so before I go back to chat, let's go to the next one here. Let's see. So distros are just the recent ones. So they tried Bazite, Arch, Garuda, and CachyOS. AMD card again. 6900. So good. Games generally just work with CachyOS. Lower temps while gaming in general use. The bad, some apps not working or working while with Linux. Zoom, Teams, for example, anti-cheat. That's interesting. I mean, I've been able to get like Zoom and Teams working on Linux. They have some packages that seem to work pretty well. I mean, I've used them and haven't really had any issues. I mean, on Wayland, maybe I have issues with like some screen sharing every once in a while, but on my XLibre setup, I've never really had any issues with that. I do know the Teams for Linux package is not great. It works, but there are some very specific things that you may run into that sometimes it's better just to use the web version, the web app version of these apps. You probably have a better experience just using the web version than the native version, or a like Flatpak or different version on your Linux setup. Linux has come a long way for gaming. I feel that it handles better than Windows for the most part. Arc, Survival, Ascend, for example, I've had one crash on it on CachyOS, Cachy Hyperland. It crashed many times on Windows 11. And it's definitely interesting to see people have better experiences when gaming than when they're on their counterpart Windows 11, because I feel like a lot of people complain about the gaming on Linux and that it's worse when you actually can get better experiences with certain games on Linux than you can on Windows 11. What's going on, JTech? How we doing? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I distro hop a bit, but kind of settled using NixOS for my base and a distro box if I need something specific. I have a different drive on a machine to check out other interesting distros, though. Yeah, that's basically what I do too. I have 2 drives, well, technically 3 drives. In my main one, and then another one that I can just kind of install whatever on it and just try out things. It's definitely a good approach to have. Fedora plus Neri plus Noctalia, shell equals happy. Nice. No, I definitely agree that that's a great combination between those three there. And Swish, yeah, I'm just saying that if you want to use Android, you should use Android. Linux isn't gonna work for you, just like Windows won't, just like iOS won't, etc. Using an OS, expecting it to be, yeah, that's kind of what I was saying earlier. As far as that goes, the expectation of mine only came from how YouTubers and lots of Linux LARPers have been marketing Linux on platforms. Well, that's exactly why I'm doing this live stream. I'm trying to give the masses the actual experience that people have. So I want you to continue to tell me what you have had issues with, because this is the kind of things people need to see and hear about the different experiences that people have had, using Linux. So your experience is just as important as the experience of people who have had 0 issues, because people need to hear those things. Starwolf, I've been dealing with Linux since 98 and got certified in 2000 in sysadmin, and now I am a cloud DevOps with Windows, macOS, and Linux every day. So you're using all operating systems, which is cool. That's perfectly fine. I can't stand those people that like, once you go Linux, you have to just like only use Linux. That's not a thing. I mean, I technically still have a Windows drive in my computer, but a lot of the times I only use it when it's necessary for either work or if I get a new controller that doesn't have a native app. On Linux, I'll go configure my controller on the app over there, save the profile, and then come back to Linux. So I just have that, available in case anything goes wrong. People keep saying Linux can replace Windows. I mean, it can. There's plenty of people that just use Linux and don't have Windows at all. I mean, in my specific case, like I need it for like those one-off things, but I could definitely do without it if I really wanted to. All right, let's go to another one here. So we have WinCR. Distros they use was Ubuntu, Kubuntu, Nitrix. Actually, never heard of that one. Fedora, Pop! OS, CachyOS, EndeavourOS, Arch Linux. Oh, that's in the actual order. So they ended on Arch Linux. I use a laptop with integrated graphics, the Intel Iris Xe. What was good? Most games run decently with Proton, even on integrated graphics. Lightweight distros like Arch or CachyOS felt super snappy and reduced background bloat while gaming. Definitely agree with that. I don't know if I am correct, but distros like Ubuntu and other with full-fledged DEs felt like bloat to me after my final evolution to Arch. Somewhat. I mean, they like Arch is a build your own type deal, so it just doesn't come with all that extra stuff. So when you do download something like Ubuntu with a full-fledged DE, their purpose is to give you everything out of the box. So that definitely will be quote unquote considered as bloat. But a lot of things are more necessities as far as like they're going to give you a browser, like a text editor, something to view images. So it's not going to be like a bunch of bloat, but they can add some extra stuff that you may not want, which you can always remove, but it is what it is. Never had any weird GPU problems except one time I was messing with an Intel Vulkan package. Okay, fair. It was way better than Windows 11. Windows 11 is absolute garbage. Also fair. What was bad? I use some apps which don't currently have Linux support, such as Blip, which is a file transfer app. You may ask me to use local send, but the problem is that Blip supports sharing files using the internet also, so it has a complete solution for me. I mean, that's fair. There's definitely are different applications that are just not going to have great Linux support. So I can see why you can consider that a bad experience. My cat just jumped in my lap. Down cat. Never had. Oh, I already read that. It's way better. Oh yeah. Proton compatibility isn't perfect. Certain titles crash and have missing features. No, that's definitely true. And you sometimes you have to try like different Proton layers in order to get games working the way they're supposed to. So yes, Proton is not a perfect solution, but it's becoming somewhat of a perfect solution as Valve and others enhance it. Gaming on a laptop under Linux can cause higher power draw and heat, sometimes worse than Windows due to less aggressive power management. That's interesting. I feel like someone up here also said that the opposite, where it was less heat on their Linux system. So it definitely depends on your hardware. Hardware is a huge factor in like what's going to work and what's not going to work. I got into NVIM rabbit hole. I don't know if it's good or bad. Nope, that's a rabbit hole I'm in right now myself, and I don't know if it's good or bad either. That's definitely something that you have to find out for yourself. All right, so what we got in the chat again? I use Windows 11, and besides home version, other Windows versions are fine after some debloating, but Linux users will pull up Starkey comments on, "Oh, you need to debloat Windows now to use it." I mean, to a certain extent, it is extremely bloated. I do feel like you gotta um debloat it a little bit. I mean, it is still usable without debloating it, but it's more of a preference for most people to want to debloat it because it just has all this extra stuff, all this like integrated AI stuff, all this other stuff that you just don't really need and maybe you don't want. So I think it should be a choice. You should be able to choose whether you want that stuff on your computer, not it forced for you to use it um, on your computer. So seeing people absolutely dunking on Windows 11 kind of sounds super um, exaggerated. No, and that's another reason why I'm doing this. I definitely feel like a lot of people do dump on Windows extremely. I'm not saying Windows is a bad operating system. It's just not for me. Um, in the work environment and work industry, there's a lot of times where Windows is very necessary and it gets the job done. But it's just not always the case. It's not even about debloating. Notepad has AI. Microsoft just lost the plot. Yeah, they're just integrating a bunch of stuff that isn't really needed. It, they think it's nice to haves, and they're trying to just like ride the wave of this whole AI stuff. But yeah, I still consider it like it should be a choice. Like it should not be just integrated heavily in your system like that. Like, I mean, I use AI myself, but I use it when I need it, and it's not just like in my face all the time. Aluminum OS the Android desktop is gonna have built-in AI by default. Yeah, it's Google, so they're gonna put Gemini in there. So I definitely, but it is what it is at that point. I don't feel like there's really any getting around that. At work on the server side, we use lots of Linux boxes. That's why PowerShell recognizes Linux commands now. Yeah, no, definitely server side. I mean, Linux rules the world when it comes to that. Um, that it is very prevalent in that case. But as far as like desktop use, when it comes to the work environment, it's typically Windows. You can still get the job done with Linux, but you will obviously come with some hurdles there. I hate the fact that I can't even disable the Meta AI agent in WhatsApp. It's just an annoying big circle that gets in your way. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking about. I feel like you should be able to disable it. Like, okay, I don't want this, even if it's on there by default. Like, I mean, I get it. It's a business. You're trying to push what you want, but just allow us to disable it. I feel like that's the biggest portion. Me watching this and learning about tinkering with Linux and window managers instead of learning how to program. um, I mean, tinkering with Linux and window managers is somewhat learning how to program. If you're dealing with config files and stuff like that, you are definitely learning how to program. Um, Windows is a lot of these desktop environment, not desktop environments. Well, yeah, desktop environments too, but window managers is done in a programming language. Windows is too invasive for my personal life. I have no need to share my life with Microsoft with a mandatory online account, telemetry, and focused ads. Debloating is a bad hack that will revert. Um, yeah, even if you debloat, sometimes after an update, it just kind of goes back to the way it was to some extent. there's an AI button under most YouTube videos now. And that's true. I mean, Google pushes AI too. We're not just. I mean, I feel like we're not discrediting, or not discrediting. We're not saying other companies don't do it. Um, all companies are doing. Even some Linux distros are doing it. There are some Linux distros out there that are forcing AI and adding AI by default in your Linux distros or dot files or whatever it is. So I'm not pointing this directly at Windows at all. It's just across the board at this point. But I think the biggest difference is with Windows, you have the choice, or not with Windows, with Linux, you have the choice. You have the option to actually change that. Can anyone help me how to run the .deb application in NixOS? You said negatively, but do you mean natively? Is there a way to run a Debian app to run on NixOS? That's not a me question, because I had issues with that myself. But I don't know. Swish or maybe Starwolf can help you with that. They're both NixOS users, or you can join the Discord and we can help you there. Aries, welcome, Aries. I saw you made a comment on the post. But just a tip for Windows on first startup: when asked if personal or work, select work. No requirement for Microsoft account then. Really? That's interesting. You think with work they would require it. And I feel like they've been locking down a lot of different workarounds to that, getting around the account issue, but that's interesting. Without DistroBox when it comes to NixOS, for that, you can repackage .debs into your local Nix store. See, that's where a lot of us get lost. All right, let me refresh on here. Nope, doesn't look like there's any new comments here. Let me sort by newest. Nope, all about the same. Love gaming on Linux. Have some problems on Neri, Hyperland. Sometimes that I haven't learned how to mod games on Linux like Skyrim and Fallout 4. Really anything but gaming is usually smooth. Yeah. I know there's ways to mod games on Linux. I'm not a huge, game modder or anything like that, so I haven't really dabbled in that, but I've seen some other, forums and posts on getting that kind of stuff working, so it's definitely possible, but it's not always the case. All right. Well, yeah. So I've gone through all of the comments and everything on here. Does anybody actually want to join the Discord and actually share your experience live with me in the Discord? I will give the opportunity to do so if you want to. If not, we can move on to other things. I'll join there if you want to, but don't have to. Did my live just go out, or is it still good? I just had a slight hiccup on my end. I don't know what. Oh no, it's still showing. As live there. um, it lagged for a bit. I'm supposed to be working right now, so I can't join. Well, I'm glad you're here instead of working. I definitely appreciate that. Yeah, I went out for a sec. It lagged for a bit. Oh, but we're back. We're good now. Is that are we good now? My small screen could likely be the reason though. Oh, you're referring to something else here. Now that I think about it, I wonder if having a bar is actually useful. I just have a bash script to give me information through Mako. For me, I need a bar. I don't know. Maybe it's just aesthetics, but I gotta have a bar at the top. I feel like not having the bar just doesn't look right for me. Oh, that's weird. You're also trying to connect to your email. But what was also weird is the whole like dashboard like had crashed. And it did that earlier too. Like I couldn't even access the dashboard on my phone. It was really weird. I don't know what was going on there. What window manager is this, and what distro are you using now? This is BSPWM, and I'm using BSPWM on XLibre, and the distro is CachyOS. Bars are bloat. I've always said this. I don't know. I can't see a bar as bloat. Like, I mean, if okay, if I'm being real, I look up here a few times to see the date and maybe which workspace I'm on. Outside of that, I can't say that I look at my bar very often unless I'm just admiring my setup. I feel like there's like I said, I feel like it's more aesthetics than an actual necessity. Yes, I probably could do without it. Start with I need my bar. No, I agree. I could not do without a bar. I would just it wouldn't feel right. It would not feel right. I would have to. I don't know. I have to have a bar. I don't know how you guys feel, but we might be split down the middle with that. But I feel like I have to have a bar. I do agree. Bars take up too much space. Wow, I feel like more people are saying no bar. How the bar and panels, how our bars and panels vote. It shows useful information. For example, notifications, which workspace you're on, etc. I use a bar right now, but on Hyperland, I just use hotkeys to pull up a notification with the info that I need. Is this X11 or Wayland? I'm on X11, using XLibre specifically. If you don't have a bar, I would need BTOP or something running on a second monitor. Yeah, I mean I have like my CPU and stuff showing up here, but do I actually look at it? Not really. um, not every bar has the same information. Like I have a bunch of different themes that I have on here that I can like switch to, and not all the bars have the same. Well, this one does. Bad example. Ignore that example. This one does too. Ignore that example. So does this one. Okay, majority of my bars have all the same information, but I think this one's pretty minimal. Hold on. Nope, that has it too. Okay, I lied live on stream. All my bars have the same information. But like I said, I feel like I don't actually look up there very often to need to know what's up there. That should be integrated into one bar, not split into two. What? Date, workspace, what language is enabled, other things that need to be seen. I always have the world's tiniest bar, so you wouldn't really see it unless you look for it. I mean, that's one way of doing it. I chase aesthetics so much when I first installed Linux. Now, in pursuit of maximum battery life, I disabled most animations. It's difficult to navigate Neary without any, and most of the aesthetics. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's just preference at that point. While cherry picking setups to support your argument, I see how it is. Typical Linux user shake out. Way to point out that. Most customization options on Linux are too aesthetic based, in my opinion, and not that useful. No, 100%. Half of what I have on my system is aesthetic and not useful, but I like it, and that's why I'm here. It's a preference, man. Like you don't. It's not. People just like racing. Like people like making their desktop look nice, and there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't have to be useful. What's going on, Doom? Welcome in. Users wallpaper selections are awesome, dude. Oh, thank you. You're talking with like the theme switcher thing that I was just doing. Wasn't this supposed to be about gaming? You're completely right, Robo Buzzer. This is supposed to be about gaming, but somehow we got on to other Linux things. But this definitely is supposed to be about Linux gaming specifically. We got off to some tangents here, but yeah, let's get back on track. Anybody new in chat want to share their experience with gaming? Like, has it been good? Has it been bad? You are also welcome to join the Discord and join me there if you want to vocalize your experience as well. No pressure, you don't have to, but that is an option. But if no one else wants to share, like this is your time, not my time. Um, I've done plenty of videos on sharing my experience with gaming. Might need might be neat to talk about dual GPU and virtual machine setups. Um, yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, I've only done one dual PC setup. It was a while ago. Um, and I don't even know. I don't feel like it was worth the hassle in getting it working. than it was to just reboot um, into Windows. But other people may have better experiences when it comes to that. That was just my experience. It wasn't a great experience when I tried to dual boot, or not dual boot, but dual GPU um, with a virtual machine setup. I actually switched back to Windows because apparently NVIDIA laptops happens to be the worst combo for Linux gaming, especially VR, which I use. Yeah, no, I can see that being an issue. I mean, I have an NVIDIA laptop. It's a hybrid laptop, and it does work for the most part. I'm able to game on it, but I have noticed differences between that and my desktop. Um, but it also is a 3060 instead of the 4070 I have on my desktop. But um, I can definitely see where that it could cause issues, depending on what you're using. Linux checks always wind up with what Window Manager DE you run every time. No, you're not wrong. Uh, I'll probably be doing some more streams like this, and we're probably always end up back in the same spot. Um, I tried some old games for nostalgia, like Left 4 Dead, but some just didn't work, and I don't play them anymore. That's interesting. I feel like a lot of older games are the ones that typically work. Am I wrong? I mean, I guess I don't play a bunch of older games anymore. I typically play some like newer shooters and stuff like that. But if anybody else can answer that, let me know. But I've always thought like older titles with Proton and stuff seem to just kind of work out of the box, especially if you don't have like anti cheat and stuff in the way to have issues with it. Why NVIDIA laptop cause laptops are portable and AMD doesn't sell any good on the laptop side. Yeah, I do wish there's more AMD laptop options out there. They typically all go NVIDIA for whatever reason. I think it depends on the games and apps that you want to work with. Are you referring to the virtual machine dual GPU setup? So the good Linux experience are too limited and only nerds who want to build their own PC. You know, you bring some good points. That I will say most, well, no. I mean, there are going to be good experiences outside of the like nerds and more tech savvy people, but I will say being tech savvy and maybe a dev or IT or whatever does help a lot in the situation of using Linux, but I don't think it's the end all be all. Like you could be, depending on your use case, you could very well use Linux. It would be nice to have somebody in your corner because everybody that I've in my circle that I've gotten to use Linux, they've asked me questions, so they have me to kind of guide them through it. If they didn't have me, I don't know if they would have done it. To be frank. I have no problems playing City Skylines 2 on Steam under NixOS on my Framework 16. That's kind of the extent of my gaming these days. Fair. I really want a framework. I really want a framework laptop. I need to make that happen. That's a side note there for myself. I love Linux gaming. I love that Linux gives the option to endless customization, your installation, and you can change everything, but are not obligated to do any changes. On Windows and Mac, it's the company that dictates that for you. No, that's very true. I definitely agree with that. It's a lot of, you have more freedom. It's freedom. That's what you get when you come to Linux. It's a waste of time to infinitely customize your stuff. That's also opinionated. I don't think it's a waste of time. I spend a lot of time customizing my setup, and I enjoy every second of it. Well, not every second. Sometimes I get stuck or have an issue, but I still enjoy it for the most part. Are you saying that people who customize their Linux setups are wasting their time? I do very little customizing, but a lot of people like it. Yeah, like I said, I love it, and I'm not going to stop customizing it. Like you just saw that I have all these different themes, and yes, this was probably a waste of time making these themes, but it was my time, and I enjoyed every second creating these themes. So it really just depends on the user. It's not. It's a preference. Yeah, what if customizing things is it's just something you enjoy? Are hobbies a waste of time? No, this is definitely a hobby of mine. I love doing it. Like I'll stay up doing it when I have nothing else to do. Even during the day when I should be working, I'll be doing it. I feel like there's nothing wrong with it. Discord notification jump scare. Oh, my bad. Didn't realize I had my notifications on. I think the DE matters on people's comfort level. Most people, I think, won't see much of a difference using KDE or GNOME compared to Windows. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I wanted a framework desktop due to its power efficiency. My room's power is meh, but framework doesn't ship to India. Oh dang. Well, that definitely sucks. Yeah, I definitely. I mean, I wanted a framework because I just love the modularity of it and being able to like upgrade it and kind of build it. Um, but it's like a lot more compatible with Linux as that goes. My non-customer savvy uncle is using Linux Mint after I got tired of adminning. I was like, what word is that? After I got tired of adminning Windows PC, Winbloat can run all the native programs with no problem, and he doesn't know the difference. Yeah, Winbloat is a really good system in my opinion. I feel like that it kind of bridges the gap to having a lot of things. I mean, it doesn't have like native like GPU support and stuff like that, but um you can definitely get a lot done with that option. Oh, what's going on? LGO, how you doing? Welcome in. Being a sysadmin for your own Linux system sucks. I mean, yes and no. Being the sysadmin for your own computer, it makes it your own. Like you are the one that has the say in what goes on your computer. So I think that that can be seen as a positive as well, rather than a negative. I don't really think that is always considered a negative, in my opinion. Dealing with all the problems that you will eventually run into. Yeah, you're gonna run into problems no matter what you use. You may run into more on Linux, you may run into more on Windows. It depends on your use case and what you're using. And everything is cloud based these days now. So as long as the web works, the most normal folks don't even realize the difference. Um, yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I mean, but even if there is a native app for something, there's normally a cloud based version of it that you can just do from the web. And you can very easily create web apps too, and they can open on your system just like just like anything else would open. So yeah, web apps is definitely a good alternative if you want to run a program and don't want to have to go through that. Start off that is false. Most programs that I work in my workplace are native apps. Okay, it's not false. Your workspace is specific to your needs. Like that's for you. But a lot of workplaces like Microsoft Office, Google Docs, a lot of these things, a lot of like Monday and Trello and like all these other things that a lot of companies use. They're web based. You can definitely use them in the web. You don't have to have them as native apps. It just depends on you. But I appreciate your input. I'm not negating your input. I do appreciate it. And for most gamers, getting back on the actual gaming topic, um, if we're talking about Linux gaming, most of what gamers would need is going to be web based outside of the game that they're playing. Obviously, you want the game to be natively accessible, but outside of that, you're just going to go to certain websites and stuff. Probably just YouTube and a couple forums and Reddit or whatever gamers go to. I feel like is mostly going to be web based for the most part. And you got your Discord, you got the other things that most gamers need. So outside of that, I don't think it's really a huge issue. Even my job, we use N365 and Virtual Desktop for everything else. Some web apps don't support everything like native apps, but I think this gets more into power user territory. For example, Excel. Yeah, no, I agree. Um, there are some use cases where you can't do everything that you can do on a native app. But I think for the general case use cases, I think it works. This web apps talk is reminding me of just playing browser games sometimes. Hey, maybe that's what we need to do. Forget switching to Linux. Just get a Chromebook. And let's just play some browser games. Although Chromebook is technically Linux under the hood too. Not somebody outside of the dev field. Oh, that's coming from your comment up here. This is even more skewed than because so many users don't even know what web apps are. I don't know about that. I feel like because I work with a lot of non-techie users, and they know how to click the button on their browser to download a like an app to the web to like show up as an app. And a lot of times, a lot of websites it has a pop-up that literally says "install web app" when you go to the website, and then it installs the icon on your computer. So I kind of disagree with you on that one. Be doof. RoboBuzzer, I would like to dual boot with CachyOS, and I have one SSD though, and I hear Windows deletes UEFI partitions on auto updates as I disabled them through regedit. And would this still be a problem or no? Doom says you better pony up for another NVMe. Yeah, bye bye wallet. Yeah, I don't know. I have done the dual boot on OneDrive before. I didn't have any issues. I did it for months. But I do know there are quite a few instances where you will have issues with that. So I don't know. It's up to you if you want to take the risk. Switch. I play browser games all the time. Hey, it just might be the way to go. Let's just do browser games. We don't need all this anymore. Has anybody tried Void? So good. I have not tried Void yet. I still need to Try Void. That's on my list of things to try. I will get there. I'll get there eventually. I've not tried Void yet though. Anybody else tried Void that can kind of speak on that? That was coming from the Twitch chat. Sorry, I have two different chat screens up, so I missed that one. Hi, Test Man. Because for whatever reason, my YouTube chats aren't showing up in my plugin over here in OBS. Linux Gamer Life. I tried Void as a part of my challenge. I did. It was okay. Managed to get gaming on it as a noob. No, that's definitely an accomplishment. I mean, I don't know. I'm definitely gonna try it. I'm gonna see if I like it. Who knows? Maybe I'll get there and I'll stay there. You never know. Void is an amazing distro. Yes, actually, yeah. JTech or JTech. I do know you use Void. And the fact that you say it's amazing makes me have to try it. That's my next one after I try Cachy. Wait, Starwolf, you haven't tried Cachy yet? I feel like you have. Am I wrong? Oh, what's up, Doom? How are you doing? Never mind, he left. Yeah, joined the Discord and then left. It's all good though. Oh, he's back.
Discord gave me that RTC issue, and
didn't work out the first time.
It does it on Windows too, so it's not even a Linux thing.
That's definitely a Discord thing. You're not wrong.
Yeah, no, I see we're all off topic and not even talking about gaming.
Agreed. Let's hear.
So I'm here to talk about my experience on Linux gaming.
Let's hear it, man.
Yeah. So I've been a Windows user since I was like a wee lad. You and I actually had this conversation yesterday. You know, I was pretty much the only one in my family who really knew how to work computers. So I grew up a lot on Windows. I didn't really know about Linux probably until the mid 2000s. To which, of course, I tried out Ubuntu back when it was the old GNOME, kind of like what Linux Mint looks like today. Of course, gaming wasn't a thing unless you were just running whatever games they had on Linux at the time. But I've always just found my comfort back in Windows, right? Like a lot of people. Obviously, everything runs there. It wasn't until probably around when the Steam Deck came out. I did not get a Steam Deck, but I did get back into wanting to go back to Linux full time because as much as I loved the initial direction of Satya Nadella, it's kind of going back downhill with the AI stuff, and I don't appreciate it at all.
Yeah.
So as far as my Linux gaming experience, I think I'm kind of an easy case.
Yeah.
Because I don't play Valorant. I played the Battlefield beta before it released, just because my friends wanted to. I don't play Battlefield. I don't play Call of Duty. Played a little Apex back in the day. Don't care about it anymore. The only game I play today is Fortnite with my wife and family. That's the only reason I still have a Windows partition. Other than that, most things I would say have been smooth. You and I played Marvel Rivals together.
Yep.
Obviously, that game runs wonderful. I do have a Steam Deck, and I have a question about this after I get through talking about my experience.
Oh wait,
There
before you
are,
continue, I want to address
yeah,
Beto's
yeah, absolutely.
comment here. He said, "I think the speaker isn't a newbie Linux user at all. He's a longtime user." And I want to say that this doesn't have to be for newbies. We're trying to get the full experience. So having experienced users also give their take on how Linux is for them is still good for
So
the average user. Go ahead.
I I don't want to say I'm a newbie. I don't want to say I'm experienced either. I am by far probably one of the more least experienced here in chat.
Got
I will
it.
start there. I I'm a software developer and I do work in C sharp. So I work on Windows all day long. Obviously C sharp wasn't even really a recent discovery getting into the Linux side of things either. So it's not like I really ever got to my depth, honestly, of any kind of Linux is mostly Docker containers, Ubuntu servers. Nothing really super GUI based. Sure, I've run in them, I've learned in them, I know how to quit them. um, so I
That's
would
a
not
talent right
say
there.
I'm necessarily a newbie, but I would definitely say I've gotten to the point where I do want things to work. And I understand that Linux isn't necessarily that thing to just work. Can it just work? Yes. But the moment something breaks, it's very frustrating. Um, and I have also had experience with that. So, kind of coming back into Linux gaming, I got into Garuda, which is Arch based, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, I and this was actually last year, and I ran that for a good bit, and I got into learning how to dual GPU, run a VM so that I could play other games on Windows without having to reboot. Honestly, not worth the headache. Honestly, just not
Yeah.
worth the headache. I think I'd rather just reboot into Windows and work with it there. The most I will try to do is I do like to keep my Windows in a VM, or at least be able to open it in a VM so that I can try to keep it updated. That way I'm not going in, it's like screaming at me because I don't have it updated. Um, my favorite thing, if no one has heard about that and you want to try out dual GPU booting or dual GPU with a VM,
Hmm.
look up Quick Pass Through. It is a command line utility. It's on GitHub. It works. Honestly, it worked flawlessly for me. I was running an AMD GPU at the time for Linux and then an NVIDIA for the pass through.
Okay.
And it was pretty decent. The problems that you run into, though, are some games will not work on a VM,
Right.
no matter how much you try
Because it ends up
to.
recognizing that it's a VM.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
yeah.
and I see a cattail.
Yes. My cat is back in my lap.
um, but yeah, it got to the point where I got frustrated enough with that it just wasn't honestly feasible to me. And if I did want to play a game on Windows that wasn't supported in VM, I mean, I was just having to dual boot anyway, right? Or
Right.
reboot into Windows. Well, my Garuda installation, actually, no. Wasn't Garuda. I decided I wanted to go straight Arch. And I did well for about a month, did an update, and I can't remember what it was exactly, but it completely borked the system. It just went into the um, not the emergency shell, but when you boot up, it kind of goes into that shell, tells you that something's wrong and you can fix it here.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Um, where you can intrude into it and fix whatever you need to, downgrade packages. So I'm showing my Linux newbiness here. I went back to Windows.
Yep. I mean, I when I first started with Linux, I did a little bit different situation with the whole like dual GPU thing. I was doing where I
I think
had
it was in it Tux. I think it was.
was around the time. Oh, got you. Yes. I was using where I had the like my Linux setup on my laptop, and then my desktop I still had Windows on it, and I was using Moonlight to remote into my Windows computer to game. So like I was using Linux for
Nice.
virtually everything else.
Yeah.
And then only when I went to game, I would just run Moonlight and then stream from my PC, which was both right there, all both hardwired. So like it was a great experience. There was no latency or anything. But I was able to obviously play, any game or anything I wanted that was Windows compatible. So it was kind of like the best of both worlds kind of scenario. But as time went on, I was just like, I just enjoy my Linux setup so much. I want to put my Linux setup on my main, gaming desktop. And then so that's where I kind of just took the bullet and made the full switch. And I only reason why I had the whole dual thing going on because at the time I was playing like COD and stuff with some of my friend groups and whatnot, but we weren't really playing it as much anymore. It's like, so what am I keeping this around for?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just what's really done it for me is I don't think an operating system that you buy should be throwing ads in your face. Um, Honestly, Mac OS kind of does the same thing if you really think about it. I mean, you open the App Store, you got everything blowing in your face, but it's definitely not as egregious as Windows.
Yeah.
Um, Definitely not as egregious as Windows. You brand new installation, you've got Candy Crush in your taskbar. It's not installed either, so it's not like it comes with the OS.
Right.
So, the Solitaire collection, that's one thing. Solitaire at least used to come with the systems, but um, because Mac OS limits your storage. I actually have done more C# development on a Mac system than I do on a Windows system. So I actually have both a Mac and a Windows machine for work. My Windows machine stays unbooted and my battery actually died, even though I would occasionally plug it up monthly, get on it, make sure the updates were there, make sure it doesn't drop from Active Directory. The battery completely died in it to
Oh
the
dang.
point where I stuck a multimeter on it and it was just flatlined. Um, but to my today experience, I've decided I'm gonna stick with it. So I have a streaming PC, and I hear other people are coming in, so I'm gonna try to hurry this up. But I do have a stream PC and a game PC. Stream PC currently runs Windows. There's a reason why it is kind of a shared system at the moment.
Hmm.
But that's running Windows. When I travel, I take it because I have a height Y70 case. That sucker's huge, and I don't want to take it all the time when I travel. Um,
Fair.
but anyways, I have decided to mainly stick with Neri. So we've kind of talked about this. Um, but I don't game with Neri, so I have decided to install both KDE and Neri together. I did have an issue with CachyOS and installing both of them with the installer. I don't know if anyone else has run into that problem. I kind of got a little fed up with it, but
Oh, you installed both of them through the installer at the same time?
I tried to. It would
Ah,
not
okay.
work. I would always get errors, and then I would have to do a secure erase on the NVMe from the BIOS.
Got it. Okay.
Um, because the installer wouldn't even rerun on the same storage device.
Interesting.
Um, yeah, I have no idea, but I figured out you either just install Neri or you just install
Yeah, I've always
KDE, and
suggested just
then
installing one and then you can install another one
yeah.
afterwards.
So
Because
at least for now with CachyOS, definitely recommend installing just one DE or WM, and then if you want another, install it once you're in the OS.
yeah.
Um, but the reason I do gaming on KDE is because I do a mirror to the streaming PC capture card, and Neri, there is a way to do it. However, it just kind of opens a capture window that you then have to move to your second display. And you also have to make sure to set proper resolutions on it because it will be fuzzy as heck.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I know what you're talking about now.
I forget what it is. I can look it up real quick if anybody wants to know. But it did work out and it was fine, but I felt like it was too much of a hassle to really stream with. So it
Mm,
made more sense just to run on KDE with the mirror mode there. Now, the day Neri decides to add mirror mode, I'm back on Neri full time. KDE, bye bye.
there you go.
Love KDE, but like I said in your chat once before, just Neri has something on the brain for me. It just makes my brain tickle. I love it.
No, I feel it. I feel it. I do. That makes sense. Oh, what's going on, Ahmed? How are you doing? Welcome in. And I believe someone else joined too in the Discord. Linux Gamer Life. What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good, good. Looking forward to some more gaming on Friday. I had a good
Yes,
laugh last week.
I'm definitely looking forward to that. We haven't
Yeah,
decided what
yeah,
game
yeah.
we're playing yet, but we'll figure that out.
Yeah, we will do. Yeah, I think there's plenty to choose from, isn't there? That's the joy of gaming on Linux right now.
There you go.
Super Battle Golf. Super Battle Golf.
Super Battle Golf. We'll
It
see.
is fun if you haven't tried it.
I'll have to check it out. I've heard about it, but I'll have to check it out. I haven't tried it myself.
It's very chaotic when everyone's trying to go for the hole at the same time.
Fair. But yeah, let's hear your experience there.
Yeah, nice. So yeah, I've only been on Linux now for, well, it's coming up to a year, which is crazy because it's just flown by. But I was on Windows for sort of 30 plus years, and Windows is good, but what I've realised is only in a business environment. I think at work we use Windows and Microsoft stuff extensively, so you don't get all of the ads and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually works really, really well. But what's really nice, and I've said it in one of the videos I've done, is that when I shut that laptop lid from work and then power up my Fedora install, it just feels like I'm coming home. It's so nice.
Right.
But no, I started out on Steam OS actually, and just went all in. Just didn't even bother with Windows. Just literally deleted Windows and started with Steam OS, and that was because of the Linus Tech Tip video that he did like over a year ago. And stayed on Steam OS for about 2 months, and there was a couple of games that I played quite extensively. I think it was Storage Hunter, and what was the other one? Bum Simulator, which is quite fun. But and I started playing Schedule One as well, and that was quite good. And I thought, oh, this is good. This is working really, really well. And but I thought I needed a bit more than just Steam OS. I needed a proper desktop because I thought I could do more than just gaming on this. I could
Right.
probably do some more stuff. But I was worried about like missing Apex Legends because I've got like 3,500 hours in Apex Legends, and I've still got 3,000 odd coins, Apex coins in it. So I was a little bit worried about missing that, and Delta Force as well. I don't know if you ever played Delta Force. I love that game.
Yes.
But no, I kind of just they just kind of fell out of memory, and I found some other games. June Awakening was coming to being released, and I was really worried about that one not working. And I think if that hadn't have worked on Linux, I may have been tempted to go back to Windows. But I installed it, hit that play button, worked flawlessly. And then another one was Arc Raiders. I was really looking forward to that. I thought, oh no, please work, please work, please work. And obviously, Arc Raiders does work.
It's always that moment
Um,
where you're like, is
yeah,
it gonna work on Linux when a new game's coming out?
I
yeah,
have
no,
a
absolutely.
quick question for everyone. How often do you have to add arguments? And I'm not talking about the ones to get rid of the launcher screen, just adding arguments to games.
Very rarely for me. I've not had to do it at June. I mean, I've chosen to do it with June now with things like Mango Hard and that sort of stuff. But
Hmm.
I've not had to do it
But
with
not to get
hardly
it to
any, to be
work.
honest. Yeah, yeah, no. I think
No, I
no,
think that's
yeah,
great,
yeah. I think
honestly.
there's been a couple of games where, so there's one called Machina, which was the first one where I experienced the multicolor codec issue. And
Mm.
that's when I worked out that you needed to install something like Proton GE or switch it over to experimental. So I learned that at that point, but pretty much most of the other ones just have just worked. And I've got a couple of things I just want to say. One is that for anyone that's in the chat who's like Windows through and through and is interested in switching over to Linux, there's one thing that you have to think about, and that is if you can't reinstall Windows with a USB, then you're not going to have a good time with Linux. So I think that's kind of the bar, really. If you're happy and you can reinstall Windows, no problem at all, and you can deal with partitioning and all that sort of stuff, you're not going to have a problem with Linux. It's just going to be down to the one that you pick.
I would
But
like to add in an additional to that as well. Because I've seen someone in chat ask about it earlier. If you do want to do a dual boot, highly recommend 2 separate drives.
yeah, actually, I agree. 100% agree with that. Less likely to screw it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And less likely for a Windows update to say, yeah, no, we don't like Linux. Even though we have WSL, we don't want you to boot into a full Linux desktop
Absolutely. And then the
and
last
delete
thing,
that EFI.
yeah, yeah. The last thing as well is that so I started off. I'm just going to go on a quick journey. Started off, and this is in the last year. Started off on SteamOS about 2 months. Been 9 months on Fedora. I tried Solus, OpenSUSE, Debian 13, Arch,
Wait. Hold
Void.
on. You started on SteamOS?
I started on SteamOS and I was on it for 2 months. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, and then
In-
moved to Fedora because I needed to do more.
okay. Yeah.
And
Fair.
then and then I've tried since then because I was really keen to understand what the difference is, and so I tried Solus, OpenSUSE, Debian 13, Arch, Void, NixOS, Playtron, Regatta OS, Bazite, Pika OS, Garuda, Nabara, and a few others. And the only one that I've been tempted to move away from is what? What? I'll let you and chat guess. The only one out of all of those that I was tempted to move away from Fedora for was what?
NixOS.
NixOS.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100% NixOS. Only because it was so different. It was like I really like the old the declarative approach. I
Hmm.
mean, I'd probably get annoyed with it for quite quickly, but yeah. Sorry, Swish has mentioned BF6. BF6 was another one that I was almost tempted to go back to, and I did actually install Windows on a second PC to run that. But it wasn't. It just wasn't enough to take me back to Windows. So I'm just um, pure Linux now. I've got 6 or 7 installs on my second PC. I do have a Windows one in there, but that's purely for videos, for creating videos for stuff about Windows. Otherwise, I don't use it for anything else.
How was the
uh,
immutability for you on SteamOS?
that was the bit that kind of led me to move away from it because I am a tinkerer. As I say, I've got 30 years of experience in IT. And so I am a bit of a tinkerer. So I can't say I'm an IT noob, certainly not. But I can say I'm a Linux noob. And yeah, I think it's things like I wanted to create an account, and I wanted it to run in desktop mode. So I had to do a lot of research to find out just how to get it to boot into desktop mode, and I managed to do it, but it just didn't feel like it was my desktop, you know. And then I actually tried 3 or 4 other distros to trying to get them installed. So I tried Bazite, I tried Nabara, I tried what was the other one? Mint. And my impatience got the better of me, and they just took too long, and I just got pissed off and pressed the reset button on 3 of them.
You
And,
sound like me, honestly.
yeah, and then I did Fedora, and it just went straight through. I was like, okay, well, I'll try this one then because it's the first one that actually worked. And then since trying them all again, I've realised, right, okay, that was a me problem, not a distro problem. But as I say, I've been stuck on Fedora now, and
What's your
yeah.
hardware on your gaming PC or your main PC?
So I've got a 9060 XT and a 5700 X3D. So both AMD. So
Did you have issues with the 9060?
oh no, I've got 9070 now. I've got 9060 in the second PC but then I upgraded to the 9070. No, not had any issues
So
with either.
I actually bought a 9070
Yeah.
and I had issues. I think I was fine on Arch, but I think I did try Mint for a hot just second.
You might have had
And
you
just
might have had problems on
immediately
Mint.
ran into issues with
Yeah,
a
the kernel's
brand new
quite old.
AMD card.
Yeah, the kernel's quite old on Mint. I think
Yeah.
it's 614, is it, or 612? I can't remember now. Might even be 6.8. I can't remember. It's just
And I guess
upgraded now. But yeah.
I guess I never mentioned mine. I'm actually running a 5080 with an Intel 285K,
Right. Yeah.
and it's been perfect on Cachy.
Hello,
Yeah,
nerds.
I've tried CachyOS actually. I didn't mention that one. I did try CachyOS, and I tried that on the second PC as well, and ran June Awakening on it, and ran June Awakening on something else as well. And it was like, oh, okay, it works. There was nothing that made me go, oh my god, oh wow. Now I am running the CachyOS kernel on Fedora, and I've been running that for a couple of weeks now, and I'm going to keep running it for a while. And in fact, I made a little app to manage the scheduling on it, the schedulers, and I did a whole video around that. And yeah, I'm still not convinced. I don't think it really makes that much difference, to be honest. But maybe it's because of my setup, and if I had an older setup, then there might be a really big difference. But on my setup as it is now, with the X3D and the 9060 and 9070, I really couldn't tell any difference. So that's my journey.
Hello, nerds.
Oh, hey, how you doing, Steve? No, yeah.
Oh, I'm good. I thought you
LGL,
weren't hearing
appreciate
me
you
because,
sharing.
No worries, dude.
yeah.
I'm going to make space for everyone else. Okay. Hi, Steve. Speak to you soon.
To make space for somebody else. So you know that I'm going to chat it out, huh?
Yeah. Oh,
He's honest. He knows.
I know.
I love honest
I
people.
want to listen, dude.
And I love people who point out my faults.
It's
But
not a
my
fault.
journey,
We love it.
I wanted
Don't
to
ever
share-
change, dude.
Yeah.
Stay you.
Well, my journey was shorter than everybody else. I started with Mint. Like, where else is one to start with Linux? And then Manjaro KDE, fell in love with KDE, and then I created Zero Linux. That's it. Done.
That was the shortest time I've heard you talk.
Are you? Yeah, I was gonna say, are you okay? Do you need a welfare check, dude?
I wanted to prove LGL wrong. I can not shut it out.
That's
But
brilliant.
to be honest, having like you guys were talking about AMD and NVIDIA, whatever. But me, I am a super only AMD now. I had a GTX 1080, not the TI, just a regular 1080 for the longest time. I've had it since 2014, 2015, and I switched to an AMD last year. thanks to a mega donator on my Discord. But yeah, I'm relatively new to AMD, and I realized that for content creation, AMD has a lot of shortcomings. When it comes to gaming, it's usable, serviceable. I have the 7800 XT, so I just downloaded this weekend because it's unlimited weekend, so we can download as much as we want. I downloaded the cyber junk. What's called junk something you guys played the other day?
Fragpunk?
Fragpunk.
What?
Fragpunk?
Fragpunk. Yeah.
Fragpunk. Yeah, that one. I downloaded it and I played it. It was at full bore, like everything high, maximized, with, of course, FSR disabled because my card is only compatible with FSR 3.1, not 4. I know there are ways to enable FSR 4 by hacking it around and whatever. I'm not a hacker. I don't like to mess around that way. But with everything maxed out, it was going at 250 FPS.
Nice.
No, it's really
So
good.
I'm like, if you guys decide to play that next time, I might join. I haven't played in a year and a half.
Has it really been out that long? I feel like I thought it was
No,
fairly new.
I haven't played any
Oh, you
game
haven't
in
played at
general
all.
in a
Okay.
year and a half. I haven't touched gaming in a year and a half. I've been so busy
Fair.
with Zero Linux.
What Steve's
I think
saying is
Fragpunk did actually come out around the same time Rivals did. I think it was
About a
beginning
year
of the
ago.
year last year. Yeah.
Okay. Fair.
So
It's not
almost
bad.
a year and a half.
I like the type of FPS that don't complicate things. They don't give you like things you have to build your weapon. You have to upgrade your weapon. You have to do this and do that. No, I like the point, click, shoot.
shoot.
Yeah.
Although Fragpunk with the cards can get very, very complex very quick.
I don't do. I tried the game. I
Yeah,
didn't
but
touch
then
the
you just
cards.
let somebody on your team take over the shard points and
Yeah.
decide for you.
Well, I don't want to. I don't want to have to decide. I get the cards. I throw them on the ground. I just click, 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 shoot, click, click, shoot.
There you go. Hey,
Forget about the cards, because I played it for an hour, and during that hour I got so confused with the cards. I just in the beginning I decided to completely forget about the cards, and I was able to play against bots, and I was doing let's say F minus.
But give yourself a little bit more credit. If you killed somebody, it's better than an F.
I killed one. I
There you
had
go.
There you go.
kill, and
There you go.
the next one above me had 30 kills. So
That means
Okay.
you're going
So-
to have to carry both of us, dude.
well,
I have
the
a
reason-
question
the
for.
reason I am so bad, even though I play a lot of FPSs, is because I play mission-based FPSs like Doom Eternal and stuff like that, with a trainer running in the background, giving me unlimited life, unlimited ammo, unlimited everything. God mode, baby.
There you go.
There you go. There you go.
I still I am such a cheater that I still remember the what's it called, the Duke Nukem cheats, DNN. I pronounce them in French. DNNQD, DNNF, DNNKFA, KFA. So I remember the cheats for Duke Nukem, Doom, all these games, because back then we had to type the codes in, not run a trainer in the background. I have a subscription to Cheat Happens, which is $48 for lifetime or $80 for lifetime. I paid for that because I was desperate for trainers. I didn't want to download malware. That website, you download one app and you activate whatever trainer within that app. So you don't have to download separate trainer for each game. And that's why I use Windows. I don't use Linux to play games because I need my trainers. But for Fragpunk, I'm playing with you guys, it's Linux.
There we go.
Awesome.
And I noticed while it was installing, it installed some sort of weirdly named anti-cheat.
What do they use? I don't even know.
Some weirdly named anti-cheat.
with P, I
I
think,
saw it
doesn't it?
running at the bottom right of the screen.
Begins with P. I think it begins with P.
some.
It is a NetEase game, so they don't use the same thing that Rivals uses. I don't even know what Rivals uses.
Fanuel.
Okay.
It's Fanuel Anti-Cheat, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, it was weirdly named. If it was Vanguard, I would have remembered.
No, it's Fanuel, yeah.
Fanuel.
Phanuel.
Oh, that one. Yeah. That's the one it uses. It's so weird. But
On the
runs
topic
Linux, so.
Yeah, on the topic of anti-cheats, what's everyone, chat included, what is everyone's thoughts on the future of Linux gaming? You know, we've got the Steam Deck, Steam OS. Valve's obviously working on, you know, making the compatibility layers. There's lots of communities, obviously, you know, Proton GE, you got the Cachy Proton, you got Steam Machine coming out. You got the Steam VR that's going to be ARM based. So, you know, we may be looking at,
It's
you know,
going
ARM
to be
based gaming.
the future of gaming on Linux is super bright. Super bright.
What's
But
really exciting
then,
me is EA, actually.
But then
EA
you also have these games like Battlefield and Valorant, where they can't even be installed on the same Windows system.
Yeah, but
because
think about EA at the moment. They're currently hiring a senior anti-cheat engineer.
I seen that. So are they going to bring Apex back to Linux because they pulled
out? I
out?
don't know that they will. Yeah, I don't know that they will. I mean, because the engineer's focus is on ARM, which obviously is screaming the Steam frame, right? And so that's what the focus is going to be. But there was a little bit at the bottom saying and building a future strategy to support platforms such as Wine and Proton. So that's EA, right? Now I've been giving EA a lot of shit.
No, it's a Peru, not Yay.
Oh, a little Linux humor there.
Hey, we're Linux nerds, aren't we?
That we are.
Yeah. I think
Peru, never Yay.
So I think it's good. I think it's going to be really good.
I think we're still probably going to have some companies hold out. I mean, look at Tim Sweeney, who we're never bringing Fortnite to Linux because there's not enough people there.
He's just followed that guy who has an account that's called something like Fortnite on Linux, and he's just started following that guy. So everyone's going, oh my god, it's coming! Fortnite's coming to Linux.
Well, hey, if it does, you know, that means I get to play with my wife and kids and delete my Windows partition.
Hey, for me, if it's just Fortnite, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only game that's holding a Windows drive in my system right now. Is because and I don't even go over that often. Like my wife and I are kind of so over that direction of Fortnite at the moment, but at least with this season. But now, you know, supposedly they got a new community focused group that's taking in more community feedback. So hopefully it'll go in a better direction. Because I mean, at the end of the day, say what you want about Fortnite, it's still fun, especially when you have other people to actually play with. I don't normally get on that game solo. So,
on the LTT Linux challenge, there's Elijah who wanted PUBG on Linux.
My gosh!
Okay, but PUBG, no thanks.
Right. And actually, I don't even think PUBG. I think it has the same issue I was discussing earlier of you can't even run it in a virtual machine.
No, it will automatically detect the virtual machine and ban you.
Honestly, I'm surprised that Fortnite doesn't.
Well, what's interesting
Battlefield 6 does.
PUBG.
Oh yeah. Well, that's because Battlefield 6 runs invasive kernel level
and so does
anti-cheat.
Doom Eternal. Not Eternal. Doom the Dark Ages.
Where were you about to say,
LG? You if you're running a VM.
LGL?
Yeah, I was. I know PUBG brought out or are bringing out a extraction shooter, and I downloaded that and installed that and played it and did a video on it. And within less than a week on their first update, they banned Linux.
Wow. Yeah. So it was because of your video.
So I've got a video of me playing it. No, it wasn't because of that, because I only got like 500 views or something. So it wasn't me.
fair.
But
It was the whole PUBG crew just watching
yeah,
the
yeah.
video.
No, it was literally within a week. I was like, oh yeah, I would play this if they brought PUBG out and it's an extraction shooter. I'd 100% play it, and it was
Yeah.
actually quite good. It was very much like the game called The Cycle Frontier, which died because of anti-cheat. But no, it's really good. But yeah, after a week, it stopped working. So there we go. That's what PUBG do.
Dang.
I think within the next couple of years, gaming companies are going to, they're not going to fail. I mean, there's going to always be people on Windows. Windows is just easy, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's really going to start hurting more companies to not support at least running on Linux.
Yeah. I think
you know,
my take on it is that I feel like if the Steam machine is that like home console like feeling, then that brings it in competition with the like PS5 and Xbox. So that way it's if it's seen as a console, that means it's seen as like another entity that you have to support when you create a game. So that in itself will like, bring more opportunities on the Linux side, because if we're supporting that, we'll figure out a way to make it support on the desktop Linux.
And publishers don't even need to do anything, right? Most of the 9 times out of 10 publishers don't even need to do anything.
Actually, yeah, it'd be
Valve
easier.
is already
It'd be easier to support the Steam machine than it would to be support a PS5 or Xbox for your game.
Yeah, Valve has already done the hard work. The community has already done the hard work. Easy Anti-Cheat runs on Linux. They've just ticked the box to not allow it to.
Right. Yeah.
But in my unfiltered opinion, it's that Linux will always be the secondary citizen behind Windows, simply because I'm talking desktop-wise, user adoption-wise, not server-wise, not company-wise.
Right.
User adoption-wise, it's going to be still play second fiddle to Windows, because it's adoption for gaming. Yes, it will grow. It will grow exponentially. But for serious work, it's still going to be play second fiddle to Windows, because all the professional tools, 90% of professional tools only exist on Windows.
It's gonna take a lot longer for that to.
Yeah, and although there are ports of those tools or alternatives to those tools on Linux, nothing will be as robust as on Windows.
Hopefully Winbode will change that. Seems promising. I haven't tried it out because I don't have the need for it.
Yeah, I've tried it out. It's pretty good. It wasn't very good for Photoshop, but it is pretty good for other stuff.
Yeah,
that's one. The Adobe Suite is one. Secondary, the second thing is I have a musician on my Discord server. I call it my Discord server, the Zero Linux Community Discord. And he tried finding alternatives to Reaper, to Ableton, and stuff like that. There is Ardour somewhat.
It's just non-existent, basically.
It's not a competition. It's not even close. It's not even
I think
close.
we could end up having two worlds happen. I think we could end up having the professional window user, but rather than having the professional user using Windows for professional work and gaming, I think we could even see a divide of where we have professionals staying with Windows / Mac, and then have, not that Mac was ever into gaming. And then, have that other world, if the Steam machine, I understand, Valve plans to price it like you're buying a computer. And I think there's good reason for that. You can't have these companies buying up these Steam machines and, running them in the enterprise.
They're going to treat the Steam machine like a PS5. Just put it in the living room next to the TV as a.
But I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a computer, right? You can install Windows on it if you want. But I think
yes, but the use case.
How many people are going to do that?
Machine is home theater / gaming.
Yep. Yeah. But I think if that does well, I think we could see more quicker adoption in at least the gaming community. you've got even some of these other like handheld makers that are coming out and at least releasing Bazite with their system rather than just Windows.
Yeah, well, Bazite. Now that you mentioned Bazite is going through super hard times right now with management
I've seen,
changes.
yeah.
And same with Manjaro, they're
Mhm.
having to deal with logistics. They're having to deal with
Well,
back end stuff.
right. Bazite aside, you have handheld makers at least making the attempt to put a Windows alternative on a handheld device.
There you are.
And I think, we've got companies like System 76, like I think Framework does it too, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, technically Dell does it. You have the option to have Linux installed on a Dell machine.
Yeah,
Now,
the
are most
option
people
is
going to
there.
do it?
Yeah,
No. But
yeah, exactly.
Lenovo has come out and even that's going to be their default.
Yeah.
And if you want to upgrade to a Windows key, then you can. But
Well, here's
Upgrade
where
wording. Subjective.
here's
yeah,
here's
it's very subjective.
here's the limited times, the rare times where Lebanon shines. Okay, Lebanon is currently undergoing a war, okay, conflict
Mhm.
or whatever, but Lebanon has one advantage when it comes to computers over the outside world, and that is when you buy a laptop or a desktop in Lebanon, you will have zero OS. It will come with no operating system. The operating system choice is up to you. You either install Linux, Windows, whatever. The choice is yours. You will never find a device with an operating system except phones and tablets. That's it.
Huh. Yeah, that's definitely a different approach. I like that.
Yeah, they call it DOS. No OS, DOS.
Yeah.
That's what they put on the label.
Oh, it looks like JTech joined here. Did you want to share something there?
Oh, I could go on forever with any of these topics. So let's pick the latest one. I know that we're talking about Windows and corporate world. Interesting enough, unless you're an old school company, so a lot of the counties and state-run agencies, Windows is pretty much out the door. I have not seen a Windows machine in about 15 years in the corporate world. So Windows has pretty much lost that side of things. The only thing that, like where I work at, that we use Microsoft for is just for Outlook. And that's just because of the rulings and Active Directory is actually pretty neat. So if you ever work like in DevOps, you know that Active Directory is a pain in the butt, but when it comes to like having your mail server and user groups and all that, it's really, really good compared to some of the Red Hat alternatives. But
You're not
yeah,
in the
Mac
US,
is
are you?
I am in the US.
Oh. See, I see the opposite as far as corporate devices and what's being used.
What field are you in?
I'm in healthcare. Well, okay. I've been all over the board. I'm currently in healthcare.
Yeah, healthcare and government will never get away from Windows because they're married to Windows because they made deals with them back in the 80s that signed pretty much 50-year deals to be with Windows for a very, very long time. Many of the medical fields have either Dell or Lenovo. Back in the days, they used to have Gateway as their big contracts. And so that's the reason why you'll always going to see Windows in those agencies. But if you step away from that and you go to a more private sector, you don't see Windows at all.
Now, are we talking like actual Linux installs or like Macs more?
No, it's all Mac. Everyone uses Mac. And so,
Okay,
you
yeah,
know,
I do see a lot of that.
Yeah, if you go to DHH talk, and I'm not to say I support him or not support him, but he has a talk where he was talking about why he chose to go the route of making his own distro. And the main reason behind that was he's tired of Mac. They're super expensive. You don't really have control. And so as a CTO, he had to make a choice of whether go to Windows, which they didn't want to go to Windows. And so he's like, let's start looking at Linux as an alternative, which is why he started with his Ubuntu flavor first. And then, of course, he went the Arch way and made it Marchy. But it's a really good talk, because that's what's happening right now, is that a lot of CTOs in the industries are really asking themselves questions about kind of data integrity, in the sense that data is being leaked everywhere. That's a big challenge that a lot of companies are having. You got AI, people are misusing AI. People put a lot of sensitive data on AI. And so because of that, you're seeing a lot more people start looking at Linux as an alternative. But the question becomes is, how do you close the loopholes? And that's where Mac still has a lot of tooling, because corporate doesn't, right? They want to lock everything down. It's all about the red ribbons, the red tapes, and making sure that no one has access that they don't need. And that's the reason why they don't like to give Linux to folks. But it is definitely something they're looking at. If you go look at Scale, which just happened last week in the LA area in Pasadena, there was a lot of corporate involved there, because that's what they're looking at now, is how do they move off of both Mac and Windows, and how do they look at Linux as an alternative. You look at France, you look at Germany, even England is starting to do this, or the UK, where they're starting to look at as Linux to be built in-house and make a distro off of those different core flavors, the Debians and the Arch and the Fedoras, so they can start putting them in their corporate worlds and start locking them down. So it's a very interesting way we're going, but right now corporate world is heavily Mac on the private sector.
Yeah, and actually, now that I was thinking about that, I think just, I've always mostly worked in either large companies or I did small local government. So yeah, I mean, obviously Windows makes sense in those capacities. But yeah, I mean, you're even small areas around, where you live. How many times do you go to an attorney's office? They're running Macs. You go to the dentist, they're running Macs. Some are still running Windows, but
Yeah.
I honestly, even if not Linux, I'd rather see more use of Mac. I kind of feel like that's even a better gateway kind of getting into Linux, because there are some
Crossover.
similarities there. Yeah, there's some crossover. Yes, it's a walled garden. So
Not direct
not
crossover.
necessarily
You gotta climb over the
advocating
mountain
for
to get
Mac.
there, but there's a way to get there.
But if I had to choose, like I explained earlier, I have a Windows machine and a Mac machine for work, and 9 times out of 10, I work on my Mac. There are some legacy applications in older .NET framework that I have to support, and those just unfortunately don't run there. And there's no way that I'm going to get Mono running enough for them to run. They're just, anyways, I could go on a whole tangent about that. But if there was a choice, at least between Windows and Mac, I think Mac is honestly a better direction, especially the amount of work that just really needs to go into honestly securing a Windows machine these days. We talked about, or you talked about AI tooling and how, these people are going out and just putting sensitive data, healthcare, for example, we're putting patient data within, Chat GPT that's not federated by, your local healthcare facilities or big companies like HCA or even in the insurance industry, that's a big no-no. And people don't understand.
You wanna laugh. Lebanon, most local companies here, banks, stores, all the companies that use tech, they're still using anything from Windows 95 all the way to Windows XP.
I believe it.
Wow.
I believe that there are still instances even in the U.S. where that is the case.
Yeah,
for the longest time,
and even ATMs. The other day,
I was about to bring up ATMs.
Yeah, the ATMs here. One of the ATMs of the bank I trust most is called Crédit Libanais, Lebanese Credit. I went to withdraw some money. The window was minimized. The main window was
Uh-huh.
very small in the corner, and I saw the background. It was Windows 98.
Oh, geez.
Nice.
That's
And
funny.
we
Nice.
trust these ATMs. We withdraw money from these ATMs, and not only that, because of the recent economic crisis here, where $1 went from being valued at 1,500 Lebanese pounds all the way to 100,000 pounds, uh, devalued by 90% or something. Every time I go to an ATM and I withdraw dollars, because we use USD here now because our currency has become so low that it's useless to carry it. So when I withdraw dollars, the notes I get from these ATMs have gibberish written on them with a marker, with a stylus, with
Yeah.
whatever signed and whatever. And when you go to a store and you hand over this note, they will not accept it. So the ATM gave me useless $100 bills.
Wow.
Yeah, because here in
So,
Lebanon, they had this habit back in the old days where they, like, let's say the guy told me it costs $100. I hand him $100. He's like, okay, I'm gonna sign it just to make sure it's mine, so nobody takes it, and then it circulates in the system, and then it goes back into the ATM, and when we withdraw, we end up with it. It's recycled paper. Instead of printing new dollar bills, they recycle the same old ones with signatures and stamps and whatever. So I rarely do I get a clean bill
Right.
from an ATM.
yeah. So I know we've kind of gotten way off topic, but
Yeah.
kind of going back to the enterprise real quick and looking at, let's say even big companies, start kind of going off into this Linux world, if you will. How much, let's say within the United States, right? How much fragmentation would we or could we anticipate between companies, and how difficult do you think transitioning could be from one company to another if, every company has their own because no company is going to go out there and just hey, we're going to use Ubuntu. Hey, we're going to use Fedora. Like, even though there are enterprise level versions of those, right? I feel like, especially in the US, a lot of companies are going to be like, yeah, we're going to make our own flavor of this. And so you end up with these, distros that are only used by these companies. And so I feel like transitioning from one company to another could be a major headache for someone who just
Well, I don't know.
doesn't really
I
care
kind
about
of
the tech.
if it's a whole distro around the actual company, then it should be cohesive and everything should be like
But for
ready.
that company, but let's say you're ready
Right.
to leave that company and go
Right.
somewhere
But
else.
I guess what my point I'm getting to is that, like, if I was at a specific company, a lot of these companies now, they use so many different software that you have to learn all this like niche stuff.
That is true. That is true.
And it's like this software is for this software is this, and then they have these weird workflows that don't make any sense. But if you
So
build your entirety off of a distro and it has a specific workflow, it may be easier to adopt because it's built for that company instead of just piecing together all these different aspects of different software.
yeah,
Yeah, like,
funny talking
sorry,
about that.
I cut you off. I just
Oh,
wanted to say one thing. There is, speaking in the countries transitioning to Linux, there's someone who talked about something called EU OS, European
mhm.
Union OS, that's using, I think, Fedora with KDE. So there's that.
See,
The
I
European
think a
Union.
unified OS would be great, but I mean, this is the United States we're talking about. Everyone has their own egos.
Well, yeah. Same in Lebanon too. Every country has people with egos, companies with egos. So, like
And
here, if you tell them move to Windows 10 or 11, I'm not saying Linux, complete different architecture. Just tell them upgrade your Windows. They will fight you tooth and nail, arguing their point that no,
yeah.
98 is more secure.
I actually
Yeah.
worked for an aerospace company, and they had a lot of their facility stuff running off of old Windows 98, Windows 2000 machines.
Yeah. Windows 2000 is still my favorite Windows.
I liked it.
I still use it to this day. I have a game that will never exist on Linux or on GOG or anywhere else. It's called Rex Nebular and the Cosmic Gender Bender. It exists. It does exist on Steam, but it will never be brought into the modern world. Uh, the whole premise of the game is you are a guy who lands on a planet run by women, and in order to do missions, you have to use a gender bender to bend your gender to become a
What?
woman to be able to be able to. Yeah, it's a freaking unique
That's more than unique.
idea. Uh, but it's a DOS only game, and Windows 2000 is the last Windows you can run it on.
That's crazy.
It's an amazing game.
um,
I love it.
so I guess
But
to somewhat get back on topic here, I'm actually curious to because I think JTech you've only been using Linux for like I think it's like 8 months or 9 months. Since you're a little
Yeah,
bit
8 months.
newer to the scene, I want to hear what like your experience was transitioning and if you've been gaming on it as well.
It was super easy for me. I gave up the hardcore games, I guess, long time ago, and then most of the games that I do play that are at that big level, like FIFA, as an example, I play that on console. So it
Ah,
was super
okay.
easy because on PC I tend to play more of city builders, so a lot more single player city builders, automation like Factorials, something I'm
Yeah.
big on, Oxygen not included. So all these games work fine, right? All that anti-cheats not a big problem. I don't really play first-person shooters anymore. I got burned out a long time ago. I worked on a I worked on two first-person shooter franchises, and I think that burned me out. But with that said, like it was easy to transition. The hardest part is some games, because of their audio, require a certain version of Proton that Steam is not allowed to due to copyright laws. And so
Mm,
because of that, you have to go to the GE Proton. And so once you learn that, right? At least I haven't. And so aside from that, it's been super easy. I also have a Lenovo Go 2, and so I removed Steam Deck, put Bassite on that. That's like the only thing that runs right now that is not NixOS, and that runs Bassite, and it's a there's another platform that just works, right? So
mm-hmm.
yeah, it's been easy for the games that I play. I don't really play multiplayer games as much anymore, and if I do, like I'll go play Rivals once in a while with like my little nephews. They're when I mean little, they're 8 and 6, and so they play Rivals because they're huge Marvel fans. So
Right.
we'll play a lot of that together since they're still in California and I'm in Colorado. But yeah, it's been an easy transition. I think that Linux gaming has made it super easy. But the thing is that I'm a huge tinkerer, and so I like to troubleshoot. And so once I run into problems and I discovered Proton DB, that became like a staple as I was getting certain games to work. And if you know those things, it's super easy, right? Proton DB, go look at what people got to do to troubleshoot, and you go from there. The biggest problem I've had was Rocket League. And so in Rocket
Mm.
League, if you go through games, you cannot purchase anything through the client they use in Heroic. So the only way around that was to install it through Lutris, which then you install the Windows client, and then you can make purchases, and it works equally as good. So on my Steam Deck clone, I use Heroic there, but I don't purchase anything there. I just purchase things on my PC, and then I'm always good to go.
Yeah, okay. As far as using heroic, do you feel like you um had a pretty decent like experience with it because I honestly pretty much just game on Steam. Like I don't really use too many other like launchers or anything outside of Steam. So I'm always curious like what the experience is like outside of that.
So Heroic was good. I stopped using it. So the only one that still uses it is my handheld. And the only game that I really play off of Heroic is Rocket League. But I
Okay.
started using Lutris more for everything else, like World of Warcraft. I have a lifetime membership on that game, and so I tried Midnight recently, and I just went through Lutris. So yeah, I've been using Lutris quite more often. So it's either Steam or Lutris, but Heroic is not bad. But I only play Rocket League, and then when I had that issue where I couldn't purchase stuff, I just went to Lutris and kind of never went back on my desktop.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. No, that definitely makes sense because I've kind of just made the decision myself that when I talk about gaming on PC, I just Steam is it. Like when I look for a game, if it's out, I check to see if it's on Steam, and that's pretty much where I end my journey. I don't really check anywhere else to see if it's available.
Yeah, Steam has been the de facto like store for PC gaming, right? They were around, when was it, 02 when they started, or 102? Back when they still were being published directly through Vivendi Games. That's when they started their Steam, and then when Vivendi fell apart, they broke away and were able to take that on their own, and they were able to get back their Half-Life franchise, which was really cool. But yeah.
EO or EO on site on the Twitch chat was saying, do people still use GOG? I know.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Hello. 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 Did anybody mention GOG?
Yes, someone did.
Okay. uh, uh, okay. I'm gonna give time to others to speak, but I'm just going to say, long live GOG. I don't buy anything on Steam anymore because Steam is renting, whereas GOG, you actually own your games. Um, if I tell you the number of games I currently own on GOG, everybody's gonna say you are a liar. 1,600.
Oh wow. And so
Yep.
you prefer that going that route
Over Steam any
over
day,
Steam, yeah.
any day of the week. I recently got Clair Obscur from GOG. Uh, I actually own the game. I don't need to rely on, hey, Steam is down, you can't play the game. I own it. Especially, you got to think about it from my perspective. I am on a 16 megabits down capped internet to 220 gigs a month. Um, Imagine me having to re-download each and every game and having to create a Steam cache, do all shenanigans and complicate my life just because I bought it on Steam. Well,
Yeah.
actually, on GOG, the most beautiful part of GOG is when you purchase a game, they give you the soundtrack. They give in multiple formats: MP3, FLAC, WAV, you name it. Any bonuses like guides and whatever, and the best number one part that serves my case is every time there's an update, instead of having to re-download the entire game or whatever, you just download the patch. It's a few megabytes to a couple of gigabytes at most, unless they release a complete rework. But like for in the example is Cyberpunk. When they released Phantom of Liberty DLC, that was multiple gigs, but it was not as big as the game. It was like 20 gigs when the game was 100 gigs.
Mm.
So it was easier for me to get it separately instead of having to download the entire game again and again and again and again and again. So it saves me the bandwidth, and the something that a lot of people value, and that I do as well, is their game preservation system, where they Day of the Tentacle, LucasArts game. I don't know if anyone is old enough to know this game, but Day of the Tentacle by LucasArts, or Monkey Island series, or Sam and Max, uh, uh, Grim Fandango, all these are preserved and remastered to work on modern systems. Full Throttle, for example, that's one of my favorites. All remastered to work on modern systems and preserved, and I have them all. I have the entire LucasArts catalog. I just recently finished downloading the entire Total War catalog that they have on GOG and Tomb Raider catalog. They just completed the Tomb Raider catalog. So you can imagine every time they come out with a game I used to play in the old days, I want to play again. I immediately go to GOG. It's $2, $4 at most, 20 if the game is huge.
And as far as playing it like on Linux, you go through
I don't go
heroic
through
or
anything. This is the funny part. I don't use heroic. I don't use bottles. I don't use anything. I have Wine on the system. I just double click the installer. It launches via Wine. It prompts me where I want to install it. I select a separate drive. I never install my games on the same drive. I install the game. It adds a desktop shortcut like it does on Windows. I delete that shortcut. I create a launcher myself. Sometimes it adds it under games in the KDE menu, and I launch the game from there. And 92% of the time, it just runs. There's
Interesting.
8% of these games that do not run. It requires a little bit of tinkering, but I don't touch heroic. I don't touch bottles. I don't touch anything. The latest game I played that way from GOG that I purchased from GOG was the Hollow Knight series, Hollow Knight and Hollow Knight Silk Song. I got them from GOG, installed them by double click, as if I was on Windows. I treat GOG games as if I was on Windows.
Got it.
Download, double click the installer, install, launch from the shortcut. Done deal.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I always figure that most people either go through heroic or like it's like a mini.
You don't need to.
Mini
You
Galaxy or
only
whatever it's
need to
called.
if you want to install GOG Galaxy and manage your games. I don't need that.
Oh, I see. So it's more for managing the games than to actually
Yeah,
install
it's a
them.
game management thing. And in case a game doesn't run natively through Wine, if it requires a little bit of tinkering, Heroic can provide more
Compatibility.
flexibility. But for me, I haven't never needed to. Even DOS games like Full Throttle that they remastered, I didn't need to do any of that. It automatically launches. What's it called? That yellow tool, ScumVM, in the background to play the original one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So my experience with Linux and gaming has been the best since I started. I've never encountered a single hiccup with any game that I play.
No, that's good. I mean, I've definitely come across my own.
Yeah, except the need for
issues.
cheating that you cannot bypass. There are ways, but it will cause the games to crash. So instabilities and whatnot. Play them on Windows. Simple. That's why, for me, having a Windows install is until this day, is still a necessary evil, as they say.
Yeah. No, I definitely
GOG,
get that. I mean, I have a few moments where I've had to tinker a little bit. Actually, I know on I think it's the finals that I have to have this. Oh no, I'm actually not running that. I used to have a launch option in the finals that I had to have in order to get it to run right, or else it would just like randomly crash. But I actually don't even have that launch option in here anymore, and it's been working fine. So, that goes to say that like Proton and everything has enhanced itself over time, and gotten better and better because you don't need that as much as you used to. I feel like most games you used to have some type of launch command in order to get it to work correctly.
Yeah. So, but for the tinkers, for the gamers who like to tinker with GameScope, for example.
Yeah.
I've always wanted, because GameScope has a lot of flags that you need to memorize for some games.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine on the server, I don't know if he's still on the server. He hasn't talked in like months, but he created a web tool on his GitHub that generates your GameScope flags. So I took permission from him to include it in our toolkit on Zero Linux. So instead of having to memorize, now either you go to the website if you're not on Zero Linux, if you're on any random distro, or if you're on Zero Linux, you can generate all these flags for GameScope that allow you to have a seamless gaming experience. So gaming on Linux compared to Windows is still not for everyone, because there are some times where you have to tinker to get a game to run.
Right. Yes. And yeah, I definitely feel like the fact that you said not for everyone, I think that is a good take to have. Like, I don't want anybody to feel like we're we're even pushing Linux on people. We're just going to give our experience here, but there's definitely a certain type of person. Like if you just want to spend a late day and you just want to sit down and game and not have any issues, unless you've already set them up and got them, ready to go and you know what games work, then Linux might not be for you.
It's like we still the majority is still the type of people that want to turn on PC, double click gameplay.
Yeah, and I think that's what Steam Machine and all that, what they're trying to accomplish is.
They're trying to, and they're doing a great work at that, but it's a slow growth. It's not going to happen like tomorrow or next year or the year after that. In order to have every single game almost flawless experience, it's going to take a while. But until then, having a dual boot with Windows is the only solution.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, yeah, no, I feel like that is a decent stopping point for right now. I'll probably do some more of like this style streams more often. So I feel like the engagement was pretty good, and yeah, we'll be back another day. And thanks for stopping by, Steve. I appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. And I hope I didn't disrupt anything by talking too much.
Oh, no, not at all. You talked just the right amount. If you've ever heard that in your life.
No, I never heard it. You heard LGL.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I appreciate everybody tuning in. I try to go live pretty much every day during the week. So definitely, sub or follow, whatever, if you want to catch more. But other than that, I will catch you guys tomorrow.